Hello and welcome, and this is Peter Nolan. Thank you very much for being with us today. I really appreciate you. Today in this video I'm going to take you through a walkthrough about how you can download all the SeETL software for free. You will have seen recent videos I've made saying that SeETL is now going to be freeware. Everybody's going to be able to get it, use it, for free in their sites, and this will hopefully see the broad introduction or the broader introduction of SeETL out there in the marketplace. So if SeETL is going to be free, how do you get a hold of it? What's in the download package? I'm sure that's what you're going to be asking next. So I'll just hit pause and take you across. Okay, here we are in just a normal Chrome browser, and the address you need, it'll be somewhere near this video, like down below, but you need www.peternolan.com likes, all in lowercase, it is case sensitive, /IBI downloads. Okay, so peternolan.com likes IBI downloads is the address you need, right? And you just hit enter on there, and that's going to take you to my IBI public Dropbox. Okay, so you can see I have software, I have audios, I have videos, although at the time of making these videos I don't have any audios in there yet, but there will be. And the videos are the videos that you can find on my channel, and of course from here, from my Dropbox, you can download them. And all new videos that go up onto my channels will also go into this folder. So you have an IBI public folder and you have software, so you would figure out that, hey, my downloads are going to be in my software, right? And so I click on that, and you see IBI software 3200, full download B01, B01 being the beta, B for beta, okay? So 3200 is in beta, and you can get that now and download it. So we'll just go here. Now this is a zip file, but Dropbox will allow you to browse inside zip files. So here's a zip file, and you just go over, so you want to click on the zip file to come into IBI software, and you want to click on download. So you want to say direct download, and you're going to see down here the direct download, and it's 374 megabytes, but it doesn't take very long at all to come down. Okay, and that zip file, 374 megabytes, that's got everything in it that you want. Okay, all in one place, which is why it's 374 megabytes. It's got a lot of presentations and things like that in it. It doesn't have video and audio in it, right? So we click on show all, and you see the download there now. Now you can see it's had the one added, and we'll click show in folder. It's had the one added because I happen to have already downloaded it and forgotten about that, so that's okay. So we just click here and we'll say copy, and I'm going to go out to my C drive, and I'm going to say paste. So it's going to copy to my C drive, and you can see it's 382 megs, and then I'm going to say extract all. Okay, and do I want it to be extracted here? Yes. And now it's going to extract all. It'll take a little while, so I'll hit pause. Okay, now as I said, that took a little while, so I didn't want to put you through that. And you see that it has created a new folder, and we'll double click on that, and it says IBI software, and you double click on that, 3200, and you have 5 folders, okay? And you can go through all this. So the first thing that you should have a look at, of course, find out a little bit about it, is documentation. So we have a whole bunch of documentation for you introducing IBI. Now you'll find that I've given you both the PowerPoints and Word documents as well as the PDFs. So you don't have to generate them to PDF yourself. If you just want to share the PDF around your company, you can just go through the PDF files. Okay? But the first thing is, introducing IBI. Who am I? What are we doing? Evaluation guides gives you a whole bunch of information directed at different people about BI for all, BI for retail and catalog retailers, SeETL, all these sorts of things are there. User guides, got to have user guides, but quite frankly, I know how programmers work. Once you have the code, you don't read the user guide very much. Okay. Example reports. There are example reports for BI for all and example reports for SeETL, all done in report services. I will add the caveat that the BI for all example reports have been discontinued. They've been stabilized. They were very difficult to upgrade and people were not that interested in them. New things were coming out. They were done in report services in 2006. And so they've just been stabilized. They're there for examples. You can look at them for examples and learn from them, but they're stable, right? And so some other descriptions, etc. and more presentations. So in here, I put a whole bunch of presentations that you can go through, have a look at your leisure. Okay? So that's documentation. But I know that you'll be interested in getting into the software. Okay? Now that it's free and available and you can go see the magic that SeETL is, you can go get it directly from the software folder. So there's a couple of things you want to look at. The SeETL design time. Okay. I don't have Visual Studio installed on this machine. I was just doing it as an example. So that's why you don't see any icons in here. But you'll see SeETL.vb. Okay, that's the magic in there. And if you have Visual Studio, you can edit it, you can compile it, you can do what you like with it, right? So that's the magic there. Obviously, SeETL.sln is a Visual Studio solution file. And obviously in bin, application SeETL console 3200. Okay, so SeETL console 3200 is, this needs to be visible in your path to use it. Okay, so SeETL console 3200 is the executable file. You can go copy it to somewhere in your path and you can see this is where it's going to be. That's the VB.NET application that reads workbooks, processes them, and produces whatever needs to be produced. Okay. SeETL runtime. You can see C++. SeETL runtime is the C++ engine. So SeETL can generate either SQL as the ETL subsystem, if you want an SQL ETL subsystem, or you can use the C++ engine. Now, of course, the C++ engine has more features than the SQL because, quite frankly, you can't do everything in SQL that you can do in C++, right? So the C++ engine has been around since 2003. It's very stable, works very nicely on virtually anything. This is obviously being delivered on Windows, but there are some Unix headers in there and things like that that you can look at. So if we go to here, you see Unix headers. So you can run it on Unix if you want. Unix, Linux. We have run it on Solaris, on AIX, on Red Hat Linux, things like this. It's run pretty much on everything. Okay. So you get the source code for the C++ engine. And personally, I mean, we're working on a project at the moment for a data warehouse project, and I'm going back to the C++ engine because the amount of work that it takes away from you having to do versus generating SQL is quite a lot. The C++ engine will reduce your workload by a factor of about 2 over generating SQL. Okay? But some people, particularly when we were selling this, when we were selling it and you didn't get the source code, people were reluctant to buy like a C++ engine from pretty much a one-man company and use it for their ETL subsystem if they didn't have the source code. So we sold source code licenses as well, right? But now that it's free, you can have the source code, you can know exactly what it's doing. C++ programmers are easy to come by. There will be a user community, so you know that you can run the C++ engine and be fairly well covered. Other customers in the past said, well, you know, the SQL that gets generated, anybody can read the SQL that gets generated, so I would prefer to have generated SQL over the C++ engine, even though I know that it's going to take me some more time and effort to write my ETL subsystem. But SQL, that's what I want as my tool for my ETL subsystem. So you have a choice now, and it's both free, which is even better, right? You have the report services reports. So you can, if you are using SQL Server, which is what this is being delivered on, if you want to do it on something else like Oracle and Linux, etc., you can take all this stuff and you can do similar reports and whatever tools that you want to do them in. We're going to deliver report services reports, okay? And then we come down to samples. And what you want to know that's important is in data. So you're in IBI software 3200 software samples data. This SeETL3200.back, that's your backup of the SeETL3200 database. You want to restore that onto SQL Server because that's got all the magic in it. Okay, there are a lot of things that are delivered in that database that you're not getting the source code for because it's in the database, right? So this hasn't been delivered to this extent before. So we've put a lot of new stuff in there, and there'll be some video demonstrations about what's in there, okay? But you know, you're getting this download package. You need to take this database and restore it onto an SQL server, okay? And lots of goodies are in there. Also in the samples, you have your DDL, your databases, your procedures, all this sort of stuff. So your stored procedures for the SeETL reports are in there, that sort of thing. Tables, views, all that sort of stuff is there as samples. There's sample commands. They will point to an older version. You just need to look at them to see, you know, what's the format of the command. Basically, it's that SeETL3200 console command -F, and you put the name of the spreadsheet. So -F means file, name of the spreadsheet, -L means log, and you put the name of a log if you want to log the processing of the SeETL command. So SeETL3200, that's it, that's your command to do things. And there's a whole bunch of workbooks. Okay, so let's go back up here a little bit further. Sample workbooks. So once you go get your software and have a look around your software, you want to look at your sample workbooks. And so we have some basic examples for workbooks. Okay. The mapping spreadsheet was the big thing, and originally SeETL was really just about speeding up the mapping process. Okay. But what it then evolved into was this thing where we could just keep adding workbooks, and anything that was necessary to record within a warehouse development project could be put into a workbook. The big innovation was we updated the VB application to only allocate the memory for the workbooks present in the workbook. It used to allocate memory for all possible workbooks, and then as it grew and grew and grew, that was too much memory. So we updated the Visual Basic application to only allocate the memory necessary for the worksheets that were in the workbook. And that meant we could have any number of workbooks, and anything that can be defined, you can go all through this, anything that can be defined as, well, we need to capture this information in this data warehouse project, we just kept throwing it into the workbooks, right? Even to the point of LinkedIn connections, restart appended batch, cross-references, all the business stuff, all the tables, everything just got thrown into a workbook, okay? So for the data warehousing community, fundamentally, everything that you need to do in a data warehouse project that can fit into a workbook can be put into a workbook and then managed and put into a dictionary, that sort of thing. For those things that don't fit into a workbook, like stored procedures and report definitions and things like that, we have descriptions about those things plus a pointer to link to the actual thing, right? So for a stored procedure, for example, you can put in, the input parameters, the output parameters, a description about the processing and the name of the stored procedure, and then there's a spot to point to the address, the LAN address, where that stored procedure lives. Okay? So today there are 78 workbooks in worksheets inside workbooks. 78. Some have been removed from 3.1.03. About half a dozen, maybe 8 workbooks were discontinued. We're not going to do them anymore. So this is what's available for all the workbooks in 3.2.00, and fundamentally you can go in and you can look at them. So let's say, for example, we open the mappings. Here is a typical mapping spreadsheet. Okay, so you've got all these processing commands that you can set. Okay, notice it hasn't been updated, these things. And then you actually have your mappings. And this is how, these mappings, this is how we create ETL. Okay? This is how we create ETL. We put the mappings into here, and SeETL does its magic. And we have a new thing that we're going to announce about speeding up the process of getting these mappings done in the first place. So SeETL, if you've never seen anything about it before, there's lots of videos that you might have watched. If you've never seen anything about it before, this is a mapping spreadsheet. This is how we do mappings. We do everything in the spreadsheet, nothing else. Nothing's outside the spreadsheet for mappings. Okay? So that's just an example. And you'll want to go through, look at those workbooks. Right? And we'll go back up. Generated SQL for ETL. This is the sort of thing that it generates. So we'll just open one of these up. This is dimension 1 processing for VM address. That's what this is. Evaluating textpad. And it generates code like this. This is quite an old one as a demo, right? And so you can see this is generated SQL. Okay. And then you can do something like, we'll drop a few more in here. This is the update. Generated SQL for updates. Generated SQL for inserts. Okay. So this is coming directly out of the spreadsheet. You put your entries into the spreadsheet and then run the SeETL, and it will generate this SQL for you. Okay? Very cool. Very nice. Now, I've added in a whole sample data warehouse, right? Everything that you need. And we have naming standards. So when we do projects for customers, we go in and the first thing we copy in is something like IBI hosting. Now they may have a different name that they want to use for it, and then we have to change everything. But on our dev machine, it's IBI hosting, and it's customer 001. IBI, and this is a database that we used of our own. And there's stage and target. We couldn't give you the database because it has people's email addresses and names in it and things like that. So you don't have the database that was used, but you have all the ETL around the database, right? So stage, DDL, databases, tables, indexes, stored procedures. So you can see that it has a very nice, smooth naming standard. What I want to do is come in here to workbooks, right? So you have all these workbooks. There is a very long and detailed demonstration of everything in these workbooks. This one was done using the SQL generation mechanism, right? So the output was generating SQL. But for example, this is the mapping spreadsheet. We'll open it up. Okay. This is our mapping spreadsheet. There's no more license file, no more SeETL license file. So these are our variables. That's our variable substitution. Let's go over to processing. So you can see again it's got the processing commands. There's quite a few of them that you would need to learn. And then it has all these mappings. And when you see things like SEQ, you know that that is the SQL generation version. This one is to generate the ETL subsystem as SQL. And you can go through all this spreadsheet. Hang on a tick. Why is it not giving me the list? I believe it's not letting me drill because it's protected. It's a protected version. Okay? But you can go down here. You can see all these different mappings, quite a few of them, and then all the other fields from .NET Nuke. This was me doing a mapping from .NET Nuke through to a portion of the beta warehouse, just to show how it was done as an example. And it was our own IBI website that we were doing this mapping of, which has since been replaced by WordPress. Okay? So you can see this is a sort of thing that the mappings, or how the mappings work, how they're generated. This was from Outlook contacts. So literally you can download your Outlook contacts and map them into your data warehouse, for example. So they're your mappings. And then there's lots of other workbooks generating other pieces. So you want to go through them and understand what each of them is doing, and then you can generate them, run them through the beta processing, see what it is that they're generating, all those sorts of things, to become familiar with the software. Okay? So that's our workbooks. And then commands. The way we do this is we create commands which just go zap, process that workbook. Okay? And this makes the commands very easy to edit. So if I open this up in Edit, on TextPad, and I do mapping, you can see at 3102 level, it's just SeETL console 3102, file name, log file name. You give it a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet, saved as XML. That's all you need to do. You edit everything in Excel and you save it as XML, and SeETL console will read the XML spreadsheet and process it. So it's as simple as this. So when you want to process a spreadsheet, you have these commands set up and you just double click on whatever command you want to run and it will run it. Okay? And you need to be pointing to the right places. Has a nice setup for data, and then the DML is your data manipulation language, and so you have Delta DML which gets generated. So this Delta DML, this is Delta detection, and we have a way of doing Delta detection where It detects deletes, and if you don't want to detect deletes because it's a lot more processing to detect deletes, we have a way that we can teach you to set them up to look at the staging area to only detect inserts and updates and not deletes. So we have a large customer using this where they are a ERP customer and they don't delete things out of their ERP very often, so they don't do delete detection, and we set that up for them. Now with 7 files for each table, you can see it soon adds up the number of items. So to do a large ERP where you might have 2,000 tables, it's 2,000 by 7. Okay, you're going to have 14,000 pieces of SQL generated that then need to be run, put into the scheduler and run daily. So that's the Delta DML. We have row count that you can go and look at. And we have the ETL processing SQL. In this case, there's 88 items are generated, and you can go look through these. So, for example, download items. .NET Nuke allows you to download things, and it gives you information about the download. So, for example, this is a work table, and we're inserting into the work table. These are the keys, and these are the coalesce statements. And you can go, obviously, you can go download this and have a look. These are the join statements. Okay. So it's passing in. This char key. If you're looking at that, char key ZVM web download item measures period, and it's joining it to ZVM web download item measures period AT3 by the pkdim char key field. All this is generated. So all your lookups to translate your string keys into your integers that you do so much in DataStage and Informatica, all generated for you as SQL. Don't need to do any of that. Okay? All out of the spreadsheet. So once you master the spreadsheet, that's it. You master the mapping spreadsheet, you are now an ETL developer. Okay? So you have all those. And then any manual SQL that you need to set up, we have a folder for that. This is manual SQL that is not being generated, but it needs to be run as part of your ETL subsystem. We stick that in manual SQL, and that goes into the batch schedule. Okay? So that's our sample data warehouse. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is our download now for our free software. It's everything that goes into SeETL. Everything's there. All the source code is there. Samples are there. And this will make you roughly 5 to 10 times more productive than using DataStage, Informatica, SSIS, these sorts of things. Roughly 5 to 10 times. Now, to just as I come to the end of this presentation, just to give you an idea, and I repeat this, so if you've heard it before, fine. What we're doing now, our prior mapping times were about 1,000 fields per month, per work month. So if you had 4,000 fields to map for an ERP or a billing system or something else like that, you could bet on, if you're proficient, you could bet on doing about 1,000 fields per month. Okay? We've upped that now. We have a new way of doing things, which I'll put a demonstration out for. And we're getting about 7 times. 6, 7, 8 times, depending, right? There's a lot of depending in there. But 6, 7, 8 times, somewhere around there, mapping productivity. So you should be thinking about being able to map an ERP at around 6, 7, 8,000 fields per work month now, which is for free. For all intents and purposes, it's for free, right? SeETL makes it possible to build your ETL subsystem at such a low cost, it's virtually for free by comparison to anything else. And now we're making the SeETL software free. This basically means building data warehouses has become, the ETL portion has become negligible in the overall cost of building a data warehouse. The ETL portion becomes negligible. Still very important, and still you have to pay money to good people to do this, but the cost by comparison to doing it with DataStage or Informatica is negligible, and the maintenance is also much less. Okay? And this is why it's now out there. It's now out there. You can't get it back. It's out there. It's free. You can build whatever data warehouses you want with it. If you are an Informatica or DataStage customer and you don't like the maintenance fees you have to pay and the upgrade fees you have to pay, you can migrate across to SeETL and then not be paying any licenses for your software. Okay? You do the one-time cost for the migration and then continue to run it. You run it yourself, and of course we're going to have services available to migrate and support data warehouses from DataStage and Informatica onto SeETL. Okay? So I think that's enough. I think what I've shown you there is very interesting. The full suite of SeETL software plus lots of documentation that goes along with it, plus a full sample database generating the SQL version. I think that's a very nice package for a freebie. You can download it, you can play with it, you can look at it, you can verify that it does what it's advertised to do in the documentation. You can talk to us about it, and if you decide to use it, fantastic. Of course, you're wondering, hey Pete, where's the money? Obviously, if you want some of our time, okay, time is money. So if you want to talk to us and ask us questions or get us to do some work for you, obviously we're going to ask to be paid for that. But SeETL is now out there, free. It's going to, I think, change the landscape quite a bit for ETL subsystems, and I sincerely hope that lots of people download it, use it, become familiar with it, and then decide to go into production with it. Okay? I think it would be really fun to see DataStage and Informatica migration projects across to SeETL. I think that would be a lot of fun. Okay? So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening, and bye for now.